I've got that. Okay. Great. Thank you,
so
everyone. So let's get back into it. Apologies for the delay. It's just good to get some stuff clarified. So, Councillor Templeton, do you want to
Yeah. So I'm formally withdrawing the procedural motion.
keep going? Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm happy to speak both first in debate once we get to
Yeah, cool. Yep.
Yeah.
No, good as gold. Thanks for doing that.
Shall I move an amendment to remove 2B from, that might be the safest way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that might be.
Happy to second.
Yeah.
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 That's fine. Yeah, that's
probably
capable,
cleaner.
So that's Okay, so
Yeah.
cool. So let's go to any other questions? We sort of Yanni.
So what's the rates impact of that?
I think Sarah already mentioned it, didn't she?
Well, so can we hear from staff, because we don't have the total project costs for any of these projects in here. We've only got the schedule one.
So sorry. Let's. Can we just have one conversation in the room? That'd be really helpful. So Yanni's asked the question: can the transport team answer that?
Not off the top of my head.
No, so
We can come back.
The facts that Councillor Templeton put forward before it, of it being approximately $3.5 million in total to construct, and Russell confirmed the offset. I'd have to do the calculation.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify the effect of the amendment, which is to remove 2B from the stop list, Te Ara Cycle Connection, is no rates impact in itself because it doesn't add budget. What it does is say that the project just stays there, and we would then have to, as part of the normal LTP process, allocate budget if we chose.
Which we
Then why don't we just do that for all of them?
Yeah. So there's
because
there's no stop. Hang on. I'm chairing this again. I'll
that's
just
my
remind everyone.
amendment.
It would be quite helpful if we just do it properly. Are there other questions?
yeah. So if we did the same thing for improving Bromley roads, what happens to the staff capacity to deliver the other projects?
So the position we have at the moment is that your previous resolution stops these unless they have a Schedule 2. And by not approving those, that doesn't change. So they just don't get done.
They would need to
Okay.
be incorporated within a.
Jake had a question, I think.
Jeez, it's actually on an entirely different topic. And it's a real simple one. Lynette's going to love it. Hey, can you just confirm that the craft-related part of the Richmond Greenway does end at North Avon Road?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I'll go tell them.
Aaron?
Yeah, mine's a question from one of the deputations this morning from Bronwyn Haywood around her claim that our infrastructure is racist against Māori and Pacific Island.
It's not an answer that.
Well, it's a very big claim to make.
He
that
didn't
we
use
are
those words. Point of
underserving.
order.
No, let's stop. Come on, guys.
That we're underserving a particular
Point
community.
of order.
So stop. Stop.
Yeah.
Just remember, the ratepayers of Christchurch are paying for this display of behaviour right now. So let's lift it a bit and move on.
Well, mine was a genuine question.
Yeah, and I've ruled it out, so it's fine. So let's go. So any other questions? Yanni?
Sorry, why do we not have the total project costs as part of this report? Because even the ones that we're agreeing to pursue.
So stop. So remember, we're in questions. So when you ask a question, wait, and someone will answer it.
Yep.
So through the chair, the previous resolution said that we were not to move forward unless we had a signed Schedule 2. The only ones, so the budgets that the costs that you have on the in the report, in section 7 of the report, and in the attachments are the Schedule 1s and the Schedule 2s.
Sorry, the ones that we're going to restart under 7, do we need to bring forward budget to get those progressed?
No, they all have budget next year that we will use as a bring back situation, further to Councillor Coker's question earlier.
Right, and so in terms of 2D, I'm able to move a resolution that we don't stop that one as well, and there's no impact.
So that's not a question for me.
Yeah, you can move an amendment and we'll get advice on whether it's capable of being put.
Yeah.
So if you've got an amendment, then send it through. But I'd like to move around questions. So Pauline?
Finding this very confusing. So what would be staff advice on if we withdrew all of 2, A, B, C, D? They stay in the program, they're unfunded, we address them all through the LTP, if there are submissions that come. why don't we do that? Is there a reason?
Sorry, I don't know.
Okay.
How about we change one word there, resolves that work pause?
So no, can we just?
On all of those.
I've got more questions, so everyone can. Yeah,
Would
a
that-
good suggestion.
Can I ask, would staff, would that work and give us more time to A, hear from people through the LTP process, and B, work with Waka
That might
Kotahi,
actually
and
do
C,
it, to
find
be
the
fair.
funding?
So, through the chair, these projects are well progressed in their design. They are pretty well ready to go to construction. We accept all of that. We cannot, as staff, work on them unless there is a budget to work against.
So I think that I completely get your point around deliverability. I feel like there might be a compromise, which is in 2, if we resolve that work will pause as opposed to stop. So that means it will stop.
Yeah, it
I
will
was going to
stop.
make a terrorist joke there, but I won't. But this one might come back at some stage. So we would do something, working through the long-term plan budgets, which gives you the time to look at it. Is everyone kind of comfortable? Pausing is not stopping, Joe.
No.
So are we kind of? Is everyone relatively comfortable? No. No. Yeah. Melanie.
Well, in a future annual plan means 20. Is that what? Yeah, that's not the long-term plan.
But that
No, but it says assessed for inclusion in a future annual plan, and it should be just assessed for inclusion in the long-term
But
plan or a future.
So what it does, and it achieves what Sarah was trying to achieve effectively before, but it means that it's something we can put to the room, which is we're pausing them. But if people get to the end of the LTP and want to include them in year 1 or year 2, then we just put stuff up before we strike the LTP.
But that doesn't allow for it because it says future annual plan.
But because it's paused, you can pick it up whenever. Yeah, it's just not putting the block up now.
Can we, if we added the words
Why not just put
long-term plan or future annual plan?
Yeah.
Both of those.
Okay,
the
yep.
intention?
And
That's the
future,
intention.
Inclusion, and then stop, full stop.
Could we stop at inclusion? Oh, okay. For a future long-term plan or annual plan.
right, everyone. Does that allay your fears, Melanie?
Yep.
Great. Yanni, I take it doesn't yours. So what's
Yeah, sorry. What can I just be advised what the total cost of the Improving Bromley Roads project is, and whether any of that work can be incorporated into the minor safety improvements program that we currently have?
We haven't got the total with us right now of the expected construction. Improving Bromley Roads is a little bit different to Te Aratai in that it can be delivered as smaller projects under the low cost, low risk system, and we would propose to do that as part of the system. But we'd come back through the pause to do that.
So just so I'm clear, I'm just looking at the screen. Sarah, you'll withdraw your amendments. Yep. So they'll be withdrawn because it's in the substantive, which Phil and I have agreed to.
Can I just get clarity on the board advice that we've got for tomorrow, which says that the Te Aratai one is proposed to be funded in the 24-34 LTP?
So the clarity for that is the board advice from the project to the advice from the project manager to the community board was probably written a few weeks ago to put through, and we have missed that, and it should read a future annual plan or long-term plan process.
Okay, so Tim's got a question.
Yeah, just 2 quick ones. Just with regards to the Westmoreland cycle connection, it was thought that it was going to be over budget, that the budget that was presented to Wakatahi, and it was going to exceed the time that we thought it was going to. Is that correct?
Yeah.
The second one then is, if this goes and it is all these A, B, C and D is paused, do we have time, would we then be able to revisit the design?
Yes.
to work with staff as a community board and elected members to look at it rather than rushing, to take a breath and look at the whole holistic area rather than just the section.
Yes, definitely. And the reality of a pause is that could be different for the length of that pause, and the way that we deal with it could be different for each of those 4 projects.
Yep. Okay.
Right, so I think we're there. So I've moved it and the mayor seconded it, so that's cool. And we're happy with Sarah's inclusion, so that's. And then Andre's got an amendment, which we'll need to put separately because I won't include that in the substantive. So do you want to bring that up on the screen? It's around, is it sending a letter or something? So can everyone see that? Expresses disappointment that the Minister of Transport has cancelled the SURF funding. Yeah,
We've done it already. Yeah, we've already.
Is this another letter or?
Sorry, a letter's been sent responding to the cancellation of funding for this?
Yeah, a Merrill report last month. We all voted on it.
Yeah.
It's saying what exactly?
Well, you voted on it. It was around literally.
Did it request clarity of funding for alternative transport projects?
It requested that we'd work with them on the GPS.
So, but it didn't request clarity funding for further alternative projects.
so
For
then-
example, the government's committed to a pothole repair fund, for example.
So do you want to remove the first bit that we've already done and then just write to them about asking around clarity of alternative transport options?
I mean, personally, I'm fine with continuing to express disappointment.
So we'll send another letter?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Just checked, and the original one was to express concern at the suggested pause, so it was a while ago. So this is the actual cancellation.
So we
it's-
haven't responded. Okay.
So I've just
That's
checked,
good to
yeah.
clarify.
So we can send it.
So we can
So
do
we
a
have
second
we
letter.
have not sent a letter
Yep.
since this funding was cancelled.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
I clarified that with staff earlier, so I was surprised to hear that just then.
We can send another letter definitely if people want. So that's been moved by Andre, seconded by Tyler. So we'll do one debate, I think.
Yep.
If people actually want to debate it, I don't.
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Okay, great. So let's go around the table. So if anyone wants to debate it, Pauline.
I don't really know what I'm going to say, but just look, I think it's really, we finally got to a good place to, I'd rather see those paused than stopped. I don't like that word stop, and particularly when people make the effort to come in and impress on us the whole, the vulnerability of children in this area, or young adults really. And I think we all agree that's a pretty shocking part of the road of the city to cycle down, particularly at peak times. And these are all worthy projects. So I'm really pleased. I think we've come to a good place. I'll support 9, and I'll just rely on staff to word that very, very carefully so that they're not getting offside with a new minister. That's the last thing we want to do. And I'm sure that staff will word that properly. And speaking of staff, so I agree with when Lynette mentioned before the amount of work that's gone into this. These have all been consulted on and they're into design, and central government's got to really understand the effect that these government decisions have on our finances actually and our workload. This was a massive piece of work that happened, quite a compressed time frame, and I remember chairing the hearings panel for 2 full days of people coming in passionately speaking about all of these. So I am pleased that they're still alive, and let's find a way that we can get them all delivered for people. So please support this today.
Thank you. Look, today I'm going to start with an apology to my council colleague Melanie Coker and to my 2 Kashmir representatives on the community board, Keir Leslie and Lee Sampson. I don't think my communication with regards to the Westmoreland connection in our community board has really worked in unison with it. I've had some real issues with it, so that's why I'm going to support the pause on all of these. My concern is when we say Westmoreland cycle connection, where are we connecting it to? We're connecting it to the single most dangerous spot in the road, which is the Kashmir Bridge. I love the Rolleston Ave Park Terrace. I absolutely love it. I love cycle lanes, and I see them every day going down Strickland Street, a whole lot of them, and it's growing, it's fantastic. But where we send people is absolutely critical. You can't do one piece and then it ends at the most dangerous point. And the comment that was made by the young woman young people feeling safe. They do not feel safe. There's almost 100 students at Cashmere High that live in Westmoreland, not to mention Happy Valley Road and the Hoonhay Valley. So we've got to make the whole area safe. And Bronwyn Hayward asked, could we do certain areas of a place first? The 3 areas I would be looking at are the Cashmere Bridge, number 1. That is the number 1 thing I am hearing from the residents. Number 2 would be where Penrodic Rise meets Cashmere Road. And the number 3 is the Henderson's Cashmere Road corner, where it goes to the retention basins. These 3 areas are the key for our staff to rush this and had missed the development opposite Penrodic and use the operative district plan to say, oh no, we can't connect these, when the developer is willing to pay their share of that connection, and to find from the head of resource consents and planning that actually you can move that connection with the operative district plan. This, I think, needs to be workshopped with the community board and staff a hell of a lot more than it is now, because climate action urgency doesn't mean build something twice. It means building it once and building it right. Thank you.
I'll certainly support the part about Henderson's Road. That is a very important part. Just speaking to the amendment there, the government essentially doing what they said they would pre-election. So, you know, credit where credit is due on that. But obviously disappointed to lose funding on what a whole lot of work has been done on. But the government will have new alternative transport projects, so I see no harm in asking for funding instead for projects that are in line with government priorities and policies. They're committed to a pothole repair fund allocated to local authorities, for example, if they're still indeed considering that. Hey, if they're not going to give us any money for this, maybe they'd like to give us money from the pothole repair fund, which would be fantastic if we had money to fix that or fix other roads or fix transport of some description. So hey, why not ask? If we're getting funding cancelled on us, may as well stand up and say g'day. You still got something. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. I just wanted to give firstly my appreciation to the School Strike for Climate for coming in, the Climate Action Group coming in, appreciate you as usual, and also Bronwyn Hayward, who actually gave a really good deputation around evidence-based work, particularly around Te Aratai Cycleway and Te Aratai Cycleway, and I don't want to sound like a broken record today, but we know that it makes school kids safer if there are separated cycleways on those roads. The irony in all of this is we are not willing to fund things on our own pocket except rely on government funding to make our streets safer. That is the irony in all of this, because we're quite willing to build roads that are on the ratepayers' pocket and on debt, but have to put our hand out to make our streets safer for cycleways and walkways for our school kids. So I'm only going to address it in that way. I support Councillor Moore's recommendation here, and I'm willing to continue to work for the city to make our cycleways, our footpaths and our roads safer. Kia ora.
You're following from Tyler. Obviously, the issue is the cuts to government funding. What I'd actually like to see in future with the government, and when they change every 3 years, that if funding has been committed for something, whether it be transport, whether it be for classrooms at schools that may end up not having enough space for all the children that live in zone, maybe those governments, when they change, could commit to what had been committed to previously and not keep changing things all the time. Commit to what you're going to do. I'm actually, it makes me quite frustrated, but I'm very pleased that we're pausing these. My favourite one is Simeon Street, no surprise, but I'm very lucky in my area. We have lots of cycleways and I can bike all around town pretty much on a cycleway, so I'm really lucky. Yeah, so thank you to Sarah for your work today. Thank you for the people who've come in. I knew you would come in today. Sam was convinced people would come in and talk about tariffs. I actually thought it would be about this issue, and I was right. So thank you for coming. Come again, and good on you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's hard to find the words to explain how I feel about this. And on the one hand, some of these transport choices projects had merit, but I wasn't happy with some of the aspects of the design. I thought that we were a little tone deaf to residents living around these routes about things that they identified as being a problem for them. Waka Kotahi obviously have their brief, and I understand that, and they seem to push it on our transport team. It's all about do this as quickly as possible, and they, it just causes chaos for our transport team. Their 90% funding, or whatever their percentage is, makes them the boss, and we sort of dance to their tune. Now, obviously, we're happy to take their money, but sometimes a little bit more time to get a good design for locals is worth considering and worth taking. And we avoid that sort of Waka Kotahi-induced panic in our teams. Councillor Scandrett talks about getting the design right in around the Penruddock intersection and further down by the bridge. And I totally agree. We need to get those right and to take our time and to stop being sort of forced into a rush because of our masters at Waka Kotahi, if you like. During the LTP, the positive thing about this for me is that it looks like the Marahau Road, Burwood Road intersection is going to be reprioritised. Now, that's something that's been sitting in our community board for years. They've been flagging the danger of this intersection and wanting to have it looked at in terms of children getting to school, and it's been put on the back burner. And I let this go in the interest of the LTP, in the interest of the city. And I'm glad to see that it is actually going to come back and get consideration, and hopefully it will be done sooner. So, yeah, I guess I'm frustrated by Waka Kotahi's influence on us. Happy to take their money, wish they'd just treat us with a little bit more respect, and our transport team with a little bit more respect, to give us the time to come up with the better solutions. Thanks.
Okay. That's right, we go along here, we're going to pause all these things. We just heard in the previous report how one cycleway has blown out by $17 million. How on earth we don't know that these numbers are going out of control, I don't know, because poor old Lynn and her team have got no idea where they're heading down there, if they're going to find coal tar or what the hell they're going to find. I'll go along with pausing them, but I will not vote for item 9. Because I am flat out trying to build a relationship with the minister. To ring him up or write him a letter and say I'm disappointed in him when I'm trying to build a relationship is not the smartest thing to do. So I will not be supporting 9. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been an incredibly frustrating process. We knew that these projects had been cancelled by government many months ago, and despite the fact that there were repeated requests for this to be put into the LTP and the consultation document so that people could have their say, we chose not to do that. And then we chose the day after we'd signed off on the LTP and the consultation document to have this big debate now, giving people a few days notice to come in. And then tomorrow, we've also got a community board briefing on projects that are related to this that we don't have the updated costings for. So this whole process is so messy and confusing. And I think it's really unfair on our local communities, because where do they make submissions to? How do they have influence on the decisions that are being made if we don't have a clear, transparent process around what we're going to do? The reality was that at the start of this process, I actually didn't agree with deferring work on our major cycleways and on a number of other projects that we had, and yet council made the decision to go ahead with the transport choices. So what has that done? That's meant we've had less progress on our major cycleways. It's taken longer and it's cost more. So we've had the worst of all outcomes, basically, by making the decision that we did. In my view, we do need to improve the safety in our communities, for our schools, for our elderly residents, for all of the people that live in our communities. And unfortunately, because of the time that we've spent doing the things that Waka Kotahi wanted us to do in terms of design, we've been unable to bring people with us, and we've been unable to deliver. And it's incredibly disappointing. I'm strongly against the Improving Bromley Roads project being paused. We've been fighting for years to get an improvement plan for the safer roads through Bromley, where we've got heavy vehicles, earthquake damage, and a community that feels really frustrated that it takes so long just to get basic safety improvements done. I think the reality is that, that it's good that we no longer have Waka Kotahi telling us what design we have to do. It's good that we can take the time to engage with communities over getting designs that are built as part of a co-design process rather than a doing to process, which is very much what the Transport Choices felt like. I'm concerned that some of the designs do need to have more time spent on them, but fundamentally, this is the wrong process. We should be doing this as part of the LTP consultation document that we're putting out. We should not be choosing projects like we are. It just doesn't make sense to me in terms of the community having an ability to have their say on what our priorities are. So I'm very concerned about this, and I would ask that you put the pause for the Improving Bromley Roads 2D separately, or at least record my vote against that.
Thank you. What a frustrating debate to be having today. I'm sure none of us really want to delay and pause any of these projects, but it's a tragedy of our democracy, I guess. We've had a change of government. We've had a change of government will around what they want to support and get done. So I really hope that central government can listen today at the frustration that we at local government have of how their decisions have huge implications on the council and on the staff who are forced to change mid-track their work stream to try and accommodate their political will. So seeing these projects having to be paused, I guess for us around the table it's wisdom. I mean, we've got to try and manage our ratepayer dollars incredibly carefully. We can't just go ahead and spend umpteen millions of the ratepayer dollars by full steam ahead carrying on with these and costing us a whole lot more. So the wise thing is to hit pause and to then have the ability to take a look at these through our long-term plan process. So hopefully the public out there can take this steer today that we as a council want to hear their submissions into what we decided yesterday, and please include submitting around these projects so that we can pick those up from your submissions and from your deputations to us through that long-term plan process, and then have a chance to reprioritise to try and get some of these done. Our huge priority really must be to allow safety for our residents to be able to get to and from school and around their neighbourhoods. And I pick up on Councillor Johansson's mention there of heavy traffic going through our roads and around our neighbourhoods. Come out to the industrial heartland of Hornby, where you have massive B-train trucks going through residential streets, and where you have State Highway 1 interacting right through the heart of the community. And yet this program of Transport Choices completely ignored that corner of town. I'm struggling to understand why, and I hope in future, should we get these sort of opportunities again, that we can look at those corners of town that have huge implications with not being able to get around their areas. Some of the poorer neighbourhoods in this city don't get well served by these sorts of safety measures. So happy to support pausing, happy to look at readdressing these through the long-term plan, but please the public, submit to us, tell us what you want in these projects being included potentially into our long-term plan so that we can get safer communities for everyone. So thank you for coming in today. Learning off Yanni.
Thanks, Sam. I'll just begin with a really big sigh. I mean, I've been a city councillor for not quite 18 months, and a few have been around a lot longer than me. But I mean, is this what we've got to look forward to over the that any city councillor has to look forward to? Is the sheer Mickey Mouse nature of this whole process? We've put so much effort into it, so much energy, and other councillors have said it so much better than I. But, you know, like there's a reason that Christchurch is the city that people want to move to. There's a reason that Christchurch is a city that's thriving and moving ahead. And that's because of good decision making and good community engagement about a whole range of projects. And I know that not everybody likes cycleways, but they are making this city part of the overall package. It's making it really, really wonderful, making it safe for our communities to get around in efficiently and you know, in a really good way, in a cool way as well. And so it's really, really frustrating that we have to go through this. I absolutely support the pause, so good work on that, Sarah, rather than stopping things. But again, like, on one hand, we get told that we want more decision making locally, and on the other hand, we get told that no, actually, we're going to take the decision, or you've done a whole lot of decision making, but we're actually going to pull the ladder out to stop you actually like achieving and progressing on those things. And it's incredibly frustrating. Just make up your mind, government, because you know we just want to just get on with building a really, really good city for our citizens, and just please help us and support us and facilitate us in that.
Kia ora koutou. We know that internationally, nationally, and in Ōtautahi Christchurch as well, that our poorer suburbs miss out on infrastructure investment. They miss out on good quality roads. They miss out on trees in our streetscape that provide shade and rain capture in storms. They miss out on cycleways internationally. As well as nationally, the poorer suburbs tend to be the last ones, if at all, to get safe infrastructure. But they're also the neighbourhoods with the lowest car ownership and the most need of cheap and easy forms of transport to get around. They're the communities that have the least capacity to come and advocate for themselves for better infrastructure. So the Te Aratai connection of all of these projects was prioritised originally by the Community Board as a craft project. It switched to surf when additional funding came in to make it a safer project that was much more fit for purpose than the original craft funding allowed. The Community Board, I've talked to the board chair, communicated, still supports it. The school supports it. The design is done. It's effectively shovel ready. And the role is growing. The school may also be, I don't know, one of those schools that's at risk for its classrooms with its growing role. Design is tough. We are never ever going to please everyone. We do need to have good process, and the process was more rushed than normal for these ones. But we know from a lot of projects in Ōtautahi that once it is in place and people get used to it, they go, oh, actually it's not as bad as I think. But for a lot of people, seeing a design on paper and fear of what it might mean is very different to the reality. We've seen that, we saw it with the smoke-free bars. It was going to be the end of bars, and everyone actually really likes it now. We've seen it with many of our cycleways. And in fact, I haven't heard a boo about Park Terrace in months. People have got used to it. It's not a big deal anymore. We're going to have some tough choices to make. The GPS is not likely to give even the small amount of funding it currently puts towards cycling and walking infrastructure. And we're going to have to decide as a city whether we still continue to do what's best for our residents without government funding. And we will need community feedback on that. We do it with our water infrastructure. We don't expect the government to fork out for water infrastructure. We do that ourselves, and we need to do that with our other infrastructure as well. It's going to be really tough. But as we know, for all of the hype, cycleways are actually a really, really tiny percentage of our rates, 0.08 in the next year, and Te Aratai would be 0.037. So it is a tiny amount compared with the enormous benefits they bring. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This is a really unfortunate position that we find ourselves in today, really through no fault of our own. And I'm pleased that we've landed on something that appears to be acceptable to most of us. I'd like to thank our chair, actually, Sam, for managing and presiding over this meeting today. I think there's a few of us sitting here wishing it wasn't us that was, pleased it wasn't us that had to be chairing today. Seriously, we've been asked not to make this an east-west divide. And I couldn't agree more. We are one city. and we've got to be focused on accessibility and on safety issues and initiatives for all of our users. We're talking about our cyclists, our drivers, our pedestrians. We're talking about our vulnerable, our elderly, our physically impaired, our young mothers with pushchairs, the primary school children on scooters. And I don't intend to go into the merits of all of the projects that are on the list today, but I feel compelled to mention the councillive because it was singled out with one of our deputations today. And I want to be really clear about this. This is not about beautification and amenity in the west over priorities in the east. This is about safety, this is about accessibility, and it's for all, not just a select few. Now, councillive is a really busy arterial route. There are thousands of cars daily. There are school cyclists daily. There's a primary school really close by, and this is the main feeder street for that. We've got 2 retirement villages. We've got an aged care facility. We have got a preschool, we've got a Bible college, and we've got a youth hub. And that's all accessed off Condell Avenue. So it is worthy and it's impactful. It has been pushed back repeatedly, and I understand that our previous councillor for Papanui, he worked really hard to keep this on the list, so I'll be delighted to be calling him to telling him that it's back on the list again. Finally, can I just thank our staff, please, for bringing this back, because this is a really important project for our local community. Thanks.
I think the comment was made before about feeling frustration towards Waka Kotahi for, feeling like we're in a bind. I don't feel frustrated toward any frustration towards Waka Kotahi. I feel extremely frustrated at a minister who has who seems to be on an infantile mission from God to cancel cycleways, to not invest in public transport, and heaven forbid slow speed zones that don't actually impact overall journey times. So I think it's it reeks of having little class to cancel these projects. I think it would have been better just to underwrite the commitment that the previous government made and save all of our staff and ourselves a great deal of hassle and expense, and that would have been the wise thing to do.
Yeah, I think so far in the debate, Yanni's probably said it the best, and it does. I mean, to hear it reeks of little class, but common financial sense or financial common sense is possibly where the minister's going, because they've got to try and balance the books, and so I've got a couple of points on this. This is a dog's breakfast because our city had a whole lot of priorities on our transport, including our board's one from several years ago when Councillor Raf Manji was here, because he seconded the motion for the shared path along Harewood Gardeners Road. Projects like that keep getting bumped because the government would keep changing its mind and bring up these new schemes to make poor staff like ours jump through hoops to get the funding by a particular date. So and it's a shame we're not in the middle of March, because we could have looked like leprechauns chasing a pot of gold, dancing around on St. Patrick's Day, because that's what it looks like every time a new directive would come through from government and the council's trying to grab the pot of gold before it gets away. And so we'd change our priorities and then change them again and then change them again. Priorities are set based on what the priorities of our community is and was. So when you change them, it makes no sense. And like Yanni put, you lose money and you lose time. The cycleways, the major cycleways were meant to be finished several years ago and on a budget far less than what it is, but they have become over-engineered. There's too much money spent on them. And the Mayor showed me a photo last night of that he took in Nelson of delivering a cycleway with hard infrastructure. It is a concrete separation which was brought in and placed on site rather than a dig up. There's solutions, and the solution was put, and some disagreed with it, including myself, on Park Terrace. But what Park Terrace has proven is there's design elements there that can be rolled out very quickly and very economically that can deliver. And that's the model we should be following across the city, is the aspects of that work. Because every time we make decisions at this table, no matter which side you're on, there can be lessons learnt. And that is a lesson that we should have learnt, and we should be delivering those. The surf money, what a waste of time. $300 million for councils to be dancing around all over the place, when if they'd spent that money on, say, let's transitioning our heavy truck fleet, you could take over 2,000 of our most polluting heavy vehicles and got more bang for your buck and switch them to hydrogen. That would have been smart money spent, and these poor people coming in crying about climate urgent action month after month might not have to come in. They could get to the jobs they probably would love to be at today instead of being stuck in here yet again, because that would have delivered more action.
Hey, thank you. I'll just wrap it up very briefly. I just want to thank the council staff for their work on this. It's never easy having the goalposts moved, but actually I just think the way you've handled it's been really, really appropriate, and appreciate the good advice that has come through to the entire team. You know, the nature of this stuff is that it changes all the time based on the government of the day, and you know, I think in democracies we should remember that when people are elected by a majority, actually they can make decisions, and as a product of statute, as a product of legislation, we adapt to that. I won't be supporting number 9. I mean, I kind of recall last term we spent a lot of time writing and sending letters, and ultimately all that did was shut the door to us into the beehive. We need to be working constructively where we can, like everyone has said, to get as much money out of government that we can, and I think we can do that. You know, I think the reality is we've got a good compromise here, and I want to acknowledge Sarah for you know, being open to the change that actually got what I hope is a large compromise around the table. It's meant that a resolution that couldn't be put can now be put, and that's included and quite helpful. So I think they'll be picked up in the long-term plan. The only other thing I'd say is that, you know, ultimately these debates, when they're in public like this, put us, I think, at our best. While people are probably frustrated, it is so useful to hear the different points of view around the table. And I think, you know, with what we've done last week by opening everything up, you know, this is so much more helpful. So I think we're in a good space. We've got to keep working with central government. I think, actually, you know, for what it's worth, Simeon Brown will be a great transport minister. He's been clear and decisive and really keen to move on stuff, and that's what we need. We need certainty more than anything, regardless of the policy changes. So on that basis, I will put the motion. Oh, yeah.
Could we put 9 separate?
Well, just a question. I mean, it's always preferable to have something unanimous where possible. If the words disappointment are taken out and just the second line is left, is that something yourself and Mayor Major would potentially be comfortable with?
So you just...
So replacing the first line with, in light of the cancellation of SURF funding, council requests that the Minister provides clarity funding for alternative projects that are in line.
I mean, I'm open with that, and I mean, it'll come through in the GTS.
Something unanimous is always preferable. So if that's...
Look, I'm more than happy for that. Compromise is the word of the day, so that sounds brilliant. So can we...
I will note that last term a letter did get us $78 million for public transport.
Yeah, because the key is here we have something cancelled us, so we need to say something.
So we've done the debate. Yeah. Andre's, which is I think is really helpful. Are you happy with that, Tyler?
I guess so.
Perfect.
I like the first one, though. Yeah.
That's probably why I like the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and but the disappointment's in the decision, not the minister himself. They're doing what they said they were pre-election. It's purely in the decision. But we can't have funding cancelled on us and say nothing. We've got to stand up for our city.
So let's just stop. So can we just check? I just want staff advice that it makes sense. No, that it's capable of being put.
Yeah, you probably don't need that end.
Delete end and put a comma.
Yeah.
You happy? Yep. No, good. That's great. Yep. But we'll include that in our substantive. So Phil and I are happy. Sorry, I've got the team a sec.
We're good. We're good.
Do you want to put?
No, just wait, Yanni, because what I want to do is put that into the substantive, and then if people have got stuff they want to vote against, we'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. So let's back. We can go straight on to insurance.
Yeah.
Yep. Right, how are we looking? Happy? Phil, you're happy? Great. We'll put the whole lot, but there's one that Yanni wants. Is everyone sort of relatively unanimous in it, except for Yanni with a couple of points?
1 point, which is 2D.
2D,
So do you
okay.
want to put that one separate?
So can we we won't put it separate, we'll just note your opposition. And then noting a conflict for Councillor Goff on the 7C. Yeah. Okay, so everyone comfortable we put that as a whole? Everyone's clear on what we're voting on? So all in favour? Aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you to the team for getting through that. Right, so can we go to wastewater treatment plant? So can we get the team